That's what you do. You buy these clothes that cost money and make a difference in it. But we never do that.
Never complains, gets up, gets on, with a smile on his face.
You just want you to sit in your chair and go, hip hip hooray, for the Western press and the Western narrative. Regurgitating the same old, same old, same old, every single day, without the truth. If you haven't seen it before, please watch the first two episodes, the second series, something like that. Stallone.
We are on the site of the castle.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
It always happens. Anyway, good evening everyone. Yesterday tonight on a hot day, hot evening. Can't blame I was hosting today. Sitting by the bench yet? Sat by the bench yet? They had great company. Really, I think that they want to be my friends. You know, honestly, they really do. These flies and wasps, ladybirds, and spiders and everything. They're all around me, ants, the old kit and caboodle. The only mates I have sitting out. Crazy Mr. Funky. Let's see who's Simon. Even if Frank, I've been reading about Anna Lightbody. Oh yeah. She was an early champion of education and welfare reform for the poor. Her life, by its very nature, made great strides for the rights of women. You want to read Mary Wollstonecraft, the mother of Mary Shelley. That's who you want to read up. Great lady. Not being funny or anything. And also who you want to read up on. There's a lady from Liverpool, lives in Rodney Street, with a poet brother, Arthur Clough. Her name was Mary. Jemima. No, it wasn't. It was Anne Jemima Clough. Not me. Anyway, what she did, she set out, she wanted education for women. Now, women, you know, elite, that is, elite women, they wanted to, they got no degrees, you know, they got no degrees whatsoever. Albeit that they went to university, you know, in a minute. And they went to, and they couldn't get a, you know, their degree. They weren't given the piece of paper. And it wasn't until late in the 20th century, in I think it was in the 90s, and a 92-year-old woman received her degree from the previous century. I was reading about her, and she said, about bloody time. That's what she said. 92 years of age. Finally got her. So they couldn't get their. They couldn't get their piece of paper. You know, when you graduate, you get your, like we all did. But they couldn't get it. But there was a lady, as I said, Anne Jemima Clough, who lived here in Rodney Street, Liverpool. And she was a great advocate, the greatest in my opinion, for the advancement of education for women. Because what she did, she opened up Newell University in Cambridge for women. She did it. And it was the first university for women. I think it was around 1888 or something like that. Something like that, around that time, in the 1880s. And she opened it. It could have been 1884. And she opened it. So that's who you want to look at, Simon. But look at it. Arthur Clough's sister, Anne Jemima Newell. And it's Newell College today, Cambridge. So, you know, you have great women. I love the women. As I said, I go back to Queen Carter Mandua during the Roman occupation. Right back to it. And right through. To the likes of Mary Wollstonecraft. To the likes of that lovely lady who had just said. And Clough. The likes of like Body as well. You know, great women. And one of my favourites was Mary Bamber here in Liverpool. So you see, you know, there are great women in education. I love the literature girls, the Brontes, incredible writers. Jane Eyre, my favourite novel. Believe it or not, I love Dickens, you know, I love Dickens. I love everything about Dickens' stories. Shakespeare, great poets. But my favourite novel is Jane Eyre. And the emancipation of kids to the poor. If you read it, what she did, Jane Eyre, what she wanted to strive for. But it was rarely Charlotte Bronte who wanted to strive for what she was writing. I couldn't get into Jane Austen, though. I just couldn't. For some reason. So you see, I do like me women. Even one of the great poets, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. She wrote a poem called Aurora Leigh. Read Aurora Leigh. Leigh. Aurora Leigh. Cracking. Anyway, so there you go, Simon. Hi, Frank and Anthony and Jason and everyone like and subscribe. Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate it. Hello. Won't be able to comment much. I'm in work. See that man? Working. There's Johan. Good evening, Frank. Hope you're doing well. Good evening, legends. Happy Thursday. It is here. Happy Thursday. Got the factor on. Do you know what? I went to Sardinia with my mum once, and she said to me, "Do you want me to put some factor on your back?" You know, and I went, "No, you know, I'm okay. Take all that." big mistake. I thought he had rhino skin. And it was up with a sunstroke for 2 days. It was lying. She looked after me though when when I was ill. George said, "Good evening, Frank, and presumptive good evening to our artist, Anthony." Yes, he's here with me. Lynn, evening, Frank, hope you're well. And enjoying the sunshine. Yes. Yes, I am, Lynn. What's the topics tonight, Frank? Tomorrow, are you planning to discuss Iran? Was enjoy to understand the relationship of Israel with Russia and why Putin has such a strained relationship with them. Yeah, I'll be talking all about that tomorrow. All about the strain, all about, they all look to Russia. Russia wanted to mediate about Iran and Israel. But Israel just want to go in and bomb. You've got all these American senators like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz. Get up on YouTube, the Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz interview. Just have a look how Ted Cruz is destroyed by Tucker Carlson. Watch it. It's a pleasure. Cara mia Toscana, come stai? Buonasera. Ciao Franco, ciao everyone. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying the weather. It's a Amalfi Coast weather, I'd say, Toscana. Costa Amalfi. Met. Don't forget, Kate Shepherd, the Liverpool suffered, who moved to New Zealand. She even has her face on a New Zealand $10 note. Go away. I didn't know that then. No wonder she went to New Zealand. Over here. Frank says, George, I will put forward to you a great song of Liverpool where they discuss them big. Oh, yeah, Jim Larkin, unbelievable. Love him. A giant of a man, both in stature and deed. And I can't see why we never had a museum, but the likes of Boston has. Boston. Over in the States. Well, you know where it is, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Jim Larkin. I'm going to do the Irish. I'm going to do the Irish question. For fuck's sake, I don't believe this. I've got itchy all again. Every time I come in, itchy around here, my eyebrows everywhere. I'm sorry about this. Even my eyelids. No one understands. Honestly, no one really. If you knew what I was going through every day, every night, it's terrible. But I'm here for you. Yeah, so I'll be doing the Irish next week. I'll be doing the Irish next week sometime. But I go back to 1566, right up. Josh Clancy. Hello, Josh. Oh, the Seasmans. Frank, it's my friend's birthday today. Her name is Evan Mary Seasman. She's a huge fan of yours. Could you wish her a happy birthday? Josh, of course. Honestly, yeah. I know the Seasman. Well, see, the Seasmans were friends of my family. They came from the Scotland Road, and we came from the Jerry Gardens area. And they were great friends. I always remember my aunties and my mum, talking about the seasons. Incredible. What a small word. That's lovely. So, even Mary, happy birthday, sweetheart. I wish I could be there, give you a big hug, and say happy birthday. And give you a drop of water. Have a swig of that. That's it. Josh, do us a favour, Josh. Just like and subscribe. Get the algorithm up there, please. The Seasmans can't get over that. That's low. That's a lovely surprise. Thank you. Thank you for that, Josh. Really, honestly. It's good that. It really is. It's good. I've got no words for it. Smashing. Tosca. The Bronte sisters are from my neck of the woods. Have you been? Yeah, been there. I went with my students once and went up there and they were looking around. Brilliant. Our country, the Bronte country. Yeah, I went there years ago now. Oh, probably it's changed. And Simon, no one is useless in this world who lightens the burden of another. Charles Dickens. See, I just read. I don't read before. I just start off reading. And I was, when you think, I've read this. And bang, Dickens. Yeah. No one is useless in this world who lightens the burden of another. That's a brilliant quote. I've always tried to do it myself. Oh, honestly, I have. You might think, oh, behave yourself. Well, it's just trying to, I'm not saying. See, when I was a lecturer, I was talking about, lectures about the Romans. So you're enlightening them. That's what it is. When you go to philosophers, they enlighten you, right? And when you come right up to the likes of one of the greatest enlighteners, because his literature was plastered up on walls in Paris, and you're at the poor, and they, what does that say? They couldn't read, and so you had like people who could read, and they read it out to them. And one of the greatest quotes ever, and it applies today. It applies today. It applies to you and me, everyone. Excuse me, this is ridiculous. This every time I come in. So anyway, and the quote is, "Man is born free, however, he is everywhere in chains." And that was Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Voltaire, another great philosopher. Incredible man. If you believe in the absurdities people tell you, they will make you commit the atrocities. Commit atrocities. Think about that. They enlighten you. They enlighten the people. They enlighten the likes of me and you. I love the Enlightenment. I can't say something. I haven't got my reading glasses. See, Donnell. Hi, Frank. It's my friend's birthday today, and he, come on. I know this. I've just been on with the lad there, Josh, and I've wished her all the best. See, Donnell. Fantastic. So I have see Donnell for the seasons. I know the seasons, by the way. Well, you know, my family did. Aunties and uncles. Mum. Hi, Frank. I hope you're well tonight, says the bear. Hiya. Oh, the Scottish. Smash them likes on the way in, people. Thank you, Scottish. And Lynn says, Kate Shepherd is a big suffrage in New Zealand. I had a $10 note with her head. God, fantastic. I'm just finish off here and I'm bringing in my great friend, Anthony. Hello, everyone, says Gary Rigby. Hello, Gary. Your name was down on for the program. Happy birthday, Evan Mary. See, Lynn, you know, that's what they get. You get noticed. If you need help, I can go back further to Dermot Mac and when he invited Earl of Pembroke to help him regain the Irish throne. There you go. It's all right, George. I'll go back there. But, you know, I understand that. But the thing is, 1566 was the beginnings of the end, so we say. The beginning of slaughter. Frank Tucker dismantled Ted's warmongering propaganda faster down. He did. He says, Johan, it was brilliant. I advise everyone to watch it. Right, so I'm going to finish on to Simon here, and then I'm going to bring in my great friend. Frank, I picked that quote thinking about you. You give your time to come on here, and I can only speak for myself to say I learned so much from your shows, and it's a pleasure to be in your. Thank you so much, Simon. Really, thank you. I mean that. I appreciate it. Mille grazie, as the Italians say. Mille grazie. And there's my great friend, sitting patiently, waiting to come on. Hiya, Anthony.
Well, I was reading the quotes, and that was a wonderful one by Simon. And I totally agree, Simon. You know, Frank is the man. And I've never been on any show with you and not learned, you know, which is the beauty of life, is it?
Well, the thing is, I've got two contrasting things tonight.
Yeah.
Honestly, I am. And George said it. Hello, Anthony. How is this starry night coming along, sir?
Basically finished, George. Yesterday was the date in 1889 where Vincent finished it. So I tried myself to get it finished. But to be honest, there's about an hour or so detail I've got to put on. But it's done. Now, Laney's
It's
just got
strange what you just said there, because people, you know, think that an artist like your good self, you know, just paints and don't think like what you just said. There's about an hour to do. Do you understand where I'm coming from with that?
Yeah.
No one thinks like.
Yeah. Well, that's the worst part of artwork. Anyone who does it will find out that when is complete. Like you know yourself with writing a thesis or writing.
Yeah.
When do you stop it? Because
Do
there's
you know
more
what?
you want to.
I wrote. Do you remember when I said the other night I wrote a poem?
Yes.
I wrote a poem and I was just sitting there. And what shall I get it? Shall I
Yeah.
get it?
Yeah.
It's
You're
in
gonna
pencil. I was
you
just
put it
sitting
on.
there
Yeah.
and looking at it. I was looking at, and I was getting so fed up. I really was. I was, what's going on in the world, and this is like over Iran and America and Israel, and nuclear weapons are being mentioned.
Yeah.
Once one of them go off, bang, we're all gone. I'll just get it. I'll just get it. I'll just finish off these two quotes. And it's Johan. Good evening, international artist Mr. Brown. Hope you're well. Starry Night looks great.
Thank you, Johan. I am in absolute the finest company. So yeah, I'm good. I'm good if you guys are good.
And the big bear says, good evening, Anthony. Blessings from Ayrshire, Scotland.
Good evening, Scottish Bear. Thank you. That is the um the history of my dad's side of the family were from Scotland, from Oban and Glasgow. And Scotland is the most beautiful part of the world. Absolutely love it. Yeah. Would love to spend more time up there and therefore do more painting up there.
There I am, I'm back.
Good.
I'm back.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
Oh, stop it. Yeah.
Just possibly the worst.
What are you like?
We are living it.
I had a great visitor yesterday. One of the girls, Karen Kariako, came down to see me.
Oh,
It
brilliant.
was lovely. It was lovely. And we had tea. She brought cake down.
Yeah.
You
Was you
know,
sick the other night? Yeah.
yeah. And
Brilliant.
we had a great 4 hours. We were just talking. We just sat down and talked. And it was wonderful, It really was. So pleased with it. So pleased. I've got my reading glasses. I'm going to read this. Honestly, I wrote this just sitting there. I done it in about 10 minutes.
Well, you were good. You when we spoke on Monday, you were going to read it out on Tuesday.
I
But
forgot all about it.
well, that's good because I couldn't get in. I couldn't get on Tuesday to hear because you were going to drop the
See,
name of the
that's
winner.
it. It's
That's
a
fine.
little sonnet. And I thought, I was so fed up. You've got, the background. If you're going to write something, there's a background to it, why you write. There's always a background.
Yeah.
And there's what I wrote. I hope I'll be able to bloody see. Right, as I said, I hope I'll be able to read my own writing because someone said to me, God blimey, Frank, you write like a medical doctor. He said, that's why you can't read your own writing. Anyway, there it is. It's called The Moon. The Moon. There is no rich or poor living on the moon. There is no starvation or famine living on the moon. There is no hatred of each other living on the moon. There are no destructive leaders living on the moon. There are no wars over territories living on the moon. There are no nuclear weapons of mass destruction living on the moon. Can I please live on the moon and live in peace and harmony very, very soon? And that's what I wrote.
Beautiful.
That's what I wrote. And it's just, you know, it's horrible. You know, what I was looking at. I'm going to explain something tomorrow night on my current affairs and what I looked at, and it disgusted me. And that's why I wrote that. That's why I wrote that. Just called the moon.
Yeah.
But anyway, before I get on to, they're going to be surprised what I'll be talking about here. Barry Aldridge, good evening, gents. Nice to see you again. Like it was only yesterday. Great stuff, Andy. That whatever you were talking about there.
Oh, because about the beauty of Scotland.
And Toscana, lovely Toscana. I hadn't just started following you on Instagram. Love your artwork. Have you ever tried painting on glass?
Yes, did many years ago, Toscana. Yeah, I did, and I did it here in the when we moved into the house. We were lucky enough to buy this old house when it was not in favor with buyers who wanted everything new and shiny, and so yeah, I did try the glass. Yeah, I'd love to have done something large like a stained glass window or something like that. That is just beautiful. But
Well, anyway, right, I'll just read these. That's lovely from Toscana. I gave 2 paintings on glass to my granddaughter. She liked them.
yeah,
I used to have them on the wall.
yeah,
And she said, "Oh, I love them, Granddad." And I said, "You can have them."
yeah.
And I gave her them on glass. Forget what paint was used. Only about that big.
Yeah.
Bear, where do you originate from? Don't show that poem to Elon, Frank. He might include that on SpaceX creative page. Says you. I love aren't these brilliant, these people?
Fantastic.
Toscana, poetry sounds better than a Scouse accent. Right, so shall we start on this? Right, and this is what it's about. The first hour is this, should just get through it. And it's about this. And it's Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper. People wonder about Jack the Ripper. But at the very end, I'll say something. Which I hope people will understand. Which they will, obviously. And when you get the likes of this fella, right? Now he was the main suspect. He was the main suspect. But I'll have to see, you know, like, how can I put this? I'll have to give a background leading up to. And there was a girl who worked in a big mansion called Battlecrease in the Egmouth area of Liverpool. And this girl, the young Irish collie, had a boyfriend. And that boyfriend used to come and meet her. And she always met, not all the time, but they actually went to theatre when he had the money to go to theatre, this fella. And she used to meet him more Edgerton's. Now we know where more Edgerton's is. Don't we, Anthony?
Yeah.
So she used to meet him there and there. Anyway, so you've got that now. Then all of a sudden, she was having an affair with the owner of Battlecrease. And she became pregnant. And he went, whoa. Well, because back in the day, there used to be a television series called Upstairs and Downstairs. Do you ever remember it?
Yeah.
Now, in it, the young fella, the young man, you could have affairs and whatever, that's okay. But if you messed around with the domestics and they became pregnant, especially pregnant, even messing around with them, it was a scandal. It was scandalised. And that even happens in Upstairs and Downstairs, where the son of the house, the eldest, he was ostracised. So anyway, he went, whoa. He said, listen, I'll sort something out for you, okay? I'll sort something out. So she said, okay. In the meantime, she went on a night off or day off, whatever, and met James Kelly. A fellow named James Kelly, who was her boyfriend. And when she said to him, I'm pregnant, he was delighted. He go, oh, come here, you, I made up. But she was going to tell him who it was, who she's pregnant to, but she got frightened of him. And whoa. So she said, all right. He said, we'll sort something out. So what he did in the meantime, now she went back to, a place of residence and work, and she told the master, she said, I've told my boyfriend that it was his. And he went, oh, great, He said, look, I'll bring you down, so I'll set the pair of yous up in London. So will you? Yeah, no problem. I'll set yous up in London, you just live there, but never come back to Liverpool. Is that okay? She said, yeah. She said, I'll have to tell my boyfriend. You tell him. And she did tell him. So he went, we'll be set up in London. Are you sure? She said, yeah, the master said. So we said, okay, yeah, great. Won't have to come back out because, as you know, it was hand to mouth back in the day.
Yeah.
1880s, this was. The 1880s. So what had happened? He went back to where he lived over the water in Birkenhead. James Kelly always said to her, you take my name now. You'll be known as Mary Kelly. Mary Jane Kelly. You'll be known as Kelly. So she said, okay. when we go down to London. So we went over to Birkenhead, but little did Mary Jane Kelly know now that he was married with a child, a little child. So we went over back home to Birkenhead and murdered his wife and child. But he was caught right away. Right away he was caught. So Mary Kelly now was in a quandary. And obviously he found out, and so he said, don't worry, I'll still bring you down there. So we put her up, he paid the rent, food, everything. And he said to her, when the baby's born, you've got to have it adopted. So she said, yeah, okay. She said, yeah, okay, no problem. No problem whatsoever.
Keep the scandal away.
Exactly, keep the scandal. And as I said before, don't dare come back to Liverpool. So when the baby was born, the baby went to an abbey where orphans were to be adopted. To be adopted. And Mary, once that was finalised, he just turned around and said, that's it now. You can make your way into the world. And she said, what about me? It's the way it goes. He said, don't come back to Liverpool. I'm forbidding you to come back to Liverpool. I'm warning you never to come back to Liverpool. Never mention my name. So she was penniless now. Give her a couple of quid, or a couple of sovereigns, whatever. She had to move out of the place because there was no rent being paid. And then she made her way into London. And she got in with these girls. She just went into a pub. And there was girls there, 4 of them, sitting at a table, drinking. And they seen this young colleague. She's only 24, 25. Now, don't forget, these women were prostitutes. They were in the late 30s and early 40s. And they always went out together. They were friends. They did the business together. Whatever business they could do, if you know what I mean. Because if you've been a prostitute for all them years, especially down there, there was no Botox then. There was no lip suction or anything like that. You haggard through a hard life of prostitution and beatings up, by the way, as well. So it was very hard for them to get jobs. And they seen this girl, and she was young, she was pretty, and they called her over. And he said, what are you doing here? And she just told them. She told them what had happened. And she said, do you know where he lives? She said, yeah. But not where, do you know the address? Yeah. And they got a fella named Robinson. He was like a pimp sort of fella. A pimp. And he came in and he was chatting to her. And what was thinking there, what was resonating there with them? Money to be made. Because this man was very, very wealthy. Very wealthy. So Hutchinson, his name was, not Robinson, Hutchinson. And he wrote a letter to James Maybrick. James Maybrick read the letter, folded it over. Now, James used to drink, in town, but he always started off in Hope Street. Where, and, the Freemasons, the Masons.
Yeah.
And he used to drink in there. And one of his mates, drinking partner, whatever, not a mate, his mates, not like you and I, but an acquaintance, a drinking acquaintance, was a surgeon who worked at the Royal Southern Hospital. So anyway, he started talking to him, and he started to get ideas, maybe, because there was a few murders that happened here in Liverpool by, he reckoned, a doctor, a surgeon, because the murders were like surgically cut in Liverpool of prostitutes down at the red light district of Liverpool, around where we know today as the Pierhead. The Pierhead is where, or stands now, the Liver building. Do you know what? I'm not being funny. This is what really pisses me off, Now I get a message. I've just got a message there. Now I'm talking about something different. Absolutely different. He couldn't fucking wait until the break. And that pissed me off. And it was a message to you. It didn't come up here. And it's wrong.
Yeah.
And the message was, how are you getting on with Austin's drawing? It's pissing me off. He's calling to telling me to ask you. So you see why I get fed up half of the time. It's got nothing to do with that. It really isn't. I'm trying to give out something historical. So I've finished now. Finished with this. Not now, between now. If anyone sends a question, I'm not going to answer you ever. But please don't. I say, the fucking still message. Stop it. Just stop it. I'm trying to do a podcast here. Say, look, and fucking messages me at the same time. Karen says, good evening, Frank, Anthony, and all our lovely followers. I just mentioned you before.
Yeah. Good evening, Karen.
About the lovely day we had, the lovely chat. Brilliant. Good evening to you, lads, says Naboom. Right, anyway, I'm carrying on now with this.
Yeah.
So these girls, so this Hutchinson fella writes a letter. Now, Maybrick's already warned, don't you attempt to come back to Liverpool. I'm warning you now. So, as I said, these girls, and they got it out of it. Oh, you deserve it, dearie. You deserve you shouldn't have left you the way he did, and all this.
Yeah.
These are ardent prostitutes. So anyway, after a while, the letter was sent. No reply. No reply whatsoever. Well, how are they going to reply? But they did leave. They went looking for, obviously,
Yeah.
the biggest clue was this. The biggest clue was this. How did they know about everything?
Yeah.
In the meantime, James Kelly was put on trial at Liverpool Assizes, and he was found guilty of willful murder of his wife and child. Normally, in those days, you get the drop.
Yeah.
But they said that he was a lunatic, and they put him in Broadmoor for the insane, criminally insane. So they sent him to Broadmoor.
You couldn't argue with that.
No. See how money's greed? See the greed of money?
Yeah. Status, class divides.
So anyway, he was talking to this doctor, and he said, "Doctor, I know what you get up to. I know what you get up to." And do you know where this doctor lived? He lived in Rodney Street. And that's where most medical professionals lived.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where they lived. So anyway, what Maybrick did, I forget the other. There was Aldridge Street. I forget the other street, unfortunately. Say like there's a map here. Say like in behind me is the Whitechapel area, right?
Yeah.
Now Maybrick, he got a flat here, right? No, I'm doing that, Alan. It's on coordination. He got a flat here in the corner, and another one, a flat in the corner. So they lived facing each other. And Whitechapel was right in the middle. This is where all they congregated. This is where all the business was going on for these prostitutes. And he went scouring around, and he seen Mary with these girls. He seen it. Said nothing, done nothing. Just kept away. And they never followed. They followed them. Not just the one night. They followed them for about 3 or 4 weeks just to make sure who knew. And it was always those 4 girls. No one else, because he kept going down to them with this doctor. Now, this doctor, for medical purposes, always took something from them. Always took something from them. That's why they knew that it was a medical professional. You know, the cut and the taking. whatever they took. Anyway, the first girl, to be honest, was a Catherine Eddowes. A Catherine Eddowes. She was the very first person. Then there was a girl named. The first murder happened on the 31st of August, 1888. That was the very first murder of this Eddowes girl. She was one of the four, you see. And then three more happened in September. And that was on September the 8th. And it was Annie Chapman. Annie Chapman, September the 8th. Now, two murders happened on the same day. All at midnight. All at midnight. And it was a girl named Long Liz Stride. Long Liz Stride on the 30th of September. Don't forget the 8th of September before. Yeah. And the fourth one was Catherine Eddowes. Catherine Eddowes. So you've got Mary Nichols first. Mary Nichols first. You've got Annie Chapman second, Elizabeth Stride, and then Catherine Eddowes. Now, you'd expect the next murder to be in October, but there was no murders in October. And they were still looking for Mary. They knew where she lived, but they couldn't do anything. Do you know why? Because the surgeon who worked at the hospital, the Royal Southern Hospital, had taken bad. He had what you call rumbling appendicitis. And he was in bed. They say you can't go anywhere. And he was in pain as well. He was in pain. Then all of a sudden, that was the whole of the month of October. That's why there was no murders. So coming into November, first week in November, I felt great. He said, I'm all right. He said, no, we'll have to operate. And he said, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Honestly, I'm okay. I'm okay. So we went back down to London. Now, every week, all these murders, by the way, happens at a weekend. Every murder, not during the week. Every weekend they happened. Because Maybury and this doctor used to go down every weekend on a Friday and got back for the Monday. Always. So what you do? The last murder. The last murder was on the 9th of November. And he's down there with Maybury. Bishopgate Street and Aldwood Street. That's the flats that they had, facing each other, and then going in and doing what they had to do, then going back to Liverpool. And then the places were given up after the last murder. After the last murder. The point is, a serial killer, now don't forget he'd murdered people here. Now a serial killer would carry on. No matter, he'd carry on until the court. Every serial killer would carry on until the court. Excuse me. God blimey. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, he was here. So why didn't he carry on, do you reckon, Anthony? Now, don't forget, serial killers carry on until they're caught. He done murders here. He done what he had to do down there. He was getting lumps and everything from them, if you know what I mean. He's cutting them up, taking whatever in a jar. When you get a thing of Jack the Ripper, when you get an image of Jack the Ripper, he's got a tall hat on, he's well covered, a black cloak, am I right?
Yeah.
And what's he always carrying in his hand?
Well, like a doctor's case?
A Gladstone bag, yes. And what was in that bag? A jar. Like pickle jar, if you know what I mean, to keep things fresh, whatever. To keep these, whatever he was taking from them.
Well, it's like you said, it's the only way that these psychopaths would stop is either if they were in jail for something else or we were dead.
Okay. Shall I tell you? I've just got to. That's our Jason. I've got to answer. I've got to answer. And shall I tell you why? I'll tell you full why. I'll tell you full why. Remember the rumble and appendicitis?
Yeah.
Well, it burst into peritonitis. Peritonitis. And this man, him, is James Maybury. And there's his wife, Florence Maybury. And James Maybury has a diary. And someone found it a few years ago, just by pure accident. Pure accident. And they said, oh, it's phony. And it wasn't. They were doing a house, just builders in a house, doing it up and, whatever. Battle crease. Found this diary. Right, so let's see. Now there's his fob watch. I've actually held that fob watch. Me. And that was carbon copied. It went to Oxford, Cambridge and Harvard universities for a carbon copy. Every one of them came back and said It was was a carbon copy to that date, and it had every name on it. And that was James Maybrick's gold pocket watch.
Wow.
And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to I'll finish on that. He died of peritonitis. The doctor died of peritonitis. And he's buried in St. James's Cemetery. As I said, he lived in Rodney Street. There was an investigative reporter I'm going back to the 70s and 80s. And they couldn't give out his name because these doctors, the family business was still going on in Rodney Street. And he said, if you fucking mention his name, we'll sue you because you can't prove anything. You'll end up with nothing, only discreditation. So he couldn't name him, but he was terrified to. It's like anybody else, if they have power of money and everything behind them. But anyway, he died. He died of peritonitis in the hospital that he worked in. Peritonitis, it burst and poisoned him, died. And that was in the December 1888. And no more murders simply because they got to Mary Kelly and did it in. And on that note, I'm going to have a little break. I'll be back.
Here we are again in the cemetery, and if you've seen some of our previous adventures, I seem to be in cemeteries all the time. However, this is a very special one. This is the grave of one of Liverpool's greats, a real Liverpool unequalled. Kitty Wilkinson was an immigrant from Northern Ireland, and she came over in 1794. And unfortunately, her father was drowned because they shipwrecked on the way to Liverpool, and her baby sister had also drowned. And when she got to shore in Liverpool, she was incarcerated and indentured up in Lancaster cotton mill. She returned to Liverpool at the age of 19 to look after her mother. While she was here, she saw the devastation that cholera, dysentery and typhoid was causing the ordinary people of Liverpool. And she went into the deprived areas to look after them. And it's a well-known fact that Kitty actually brought in waifs and strays. She brought in families and looked after them and fed them. She also realised that the cholera, typhoid and dysentery was contagious, and it went into clothes, but not ordinary clothes that you wore, but also the clothes on the beds. And she went out to the leafy suburbs to wash in lime, diluted lime. But she never charged the poorer people, because she charged the classes that little bit extra so she could look after the working classes, shall we say. And that's Kitty Wilkinson. Unfortunately for Liverpool and for the rest of the world, may I add, that Kitty opened the very first wash house. And what you see all around the world today, laundrettes that people go to and use every single day. And people today can thank Kitty Wilkinson. A real Liverpool unequalled.
My story is a true one of a lady who once lived. She was called the Hound of Heaven,
gave all that she could give. Catherine was her given name, but the world was soon to know she'd be known as Kitty, and a legend soon would grow.
Oh, Kitty Wilkinson, you can measure the worth. Oh, Kitty Wilkinson, an angel on earth.
She found herself in Stylo Mill. Imagine the things she saw. Children working filth and grime and sleeping on the floor. But Kitty learned to read and write. She heard the carter say, Liverpool's the place to be, and it's not too far away.
Oh, Kitty Wilkinson, you can measure the worth. Oh, Kitty Wilkinson, an angel on earth.
Mr. Rathbone gave her away, this girl of common sense. She realised that cleanliness was nature's best defence. Though Kitty came from the Emerald Isle, we claimed her as our own. Waging war on cholera, this lady stood alone. She had little time for self-regard. She washed the sick and lame in conditions we could not believe, when disease would kill and maim. Sacrifice was all she knew. She became the widow's friend, and she won the love of orphan kids, was fearless to the end.
Oh, Kitty Wilkinson, you can measure the worth. Oh, Kitty Wilkinson, an angel on earth.
Queen Victoria honoured her, and Liverpool did the same. In our cathedral for all to see is Kitty's window pane. She's resting in the graveyard at the Church of Old St. James, and if God alone should hear my voice, he'd remember Kitty's name. He would remember Kitty's name. How can we measure her worth? Kitty Wilkinson was indeed an angel on earth.
An angel on earth. Oh, Kitty Wilkinson, you can measure the worth.
An angel
Oh,
on earth.
Kitty Wilkinson.
I didn't know he was going to play.
Brilliant, brilliant. And there's another Liverpool legend with you on that.
Yes, Billy Kingsley. Fucking hell. There he is.
There you go.
There he is, Billy himself. And me. Me, Billy. Oh, every time I think. Oh,
I still remember that day when you came in, you know. What a truly lovely guy he is.
what
Talented.
stories as well.
Absolutely.
Stories he had.
No.
He said one story about they were in the cafe facing Abbey Road, you know, the studio.
Yeah.
And he came in and they were chatting. And anyway, he had to go out and he went over and they were in the studio. They were waiting outside the studio to get in. And John Lennon was in the cafe. And he came back over. This is the story he relayed to me. And he said, Lennon came in. He said, I thought you were recording because you was at the Mersey Beach then.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but that's Dave Clarkson there and telling us to fuck off. I'm sorry to swear. He's telling us to fuck off, you know. And Lennon went, do what? He's telling us. So he got up. We can lash them all out. Put them in. We lashed them out. Get out. Get out. And no one has argued with Lennon. No one has argued with him.
No.
And anyway, Billy and the lads, Tony Craig, he went in and this is what they had to do.
You know what?
What a story that was. With Lennon.
He's got loads. You know, I did a portrait quite a few years ago, and Billy unveiled it. It was a portrait of Jimi Hendrix, which was unveiled on what would have been Hendrix's 70th birthday.
Oh.
And he told me a wonderful story about meeting them. And Billy and the lads had played at a club in London. And Jimi Hendrix came in with his drummer, Mitch Mitchell. And he said, is it okay if we use your gear? So I said, yeah. So someone gets behind the drummer's kit. Jimi Hendrix picks up a guitar and he says to Billy, is there any bass players in the house? And Billy said, and lost his bottle. Therefore, never getting the chance to play with Hendrix. My fault. I bottled it.
That's incredible.
What a guy. What an absolute wonderful guy.
Oh, I love him, honestly. You know, we know, don't we? We know.
Yeah.
You know, and that song was actually recorded. Frankie Connor wrote that.
Yeah.
And he said, I want you to do it. I said, but no, I can't bloody sing. He said, no, I want you to do it. And we went up to Billy's studio.
Yeah.
And his lovely wife made me so welcome, and so did Billy, obviously.
Yeah.
And we did it.
Amazing. On that day, in that photo, you hadn't told me about that single.
Oh.
And you dropped it in one of our nights. Jason when we were on a history show. You said, I was on a single. And then Jason
put us up. I know. It was like someone was mentioning. I think you were I think it was Derek Shelmadine was on.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the bricks in the wall. And I said, well, I've made a record, you know, and do you think my name would go on a brick in the wall of the cabin? And Jason just threw that off, didn't he? And you were surprised. Derek nearly fell off his chair. Oh, fantastic.
That's the beauty of our Jason.
Yes.
On it.
Yes. And the Redbird says, did Kitty ever marry yet? That Wilkinson, a fella named Wilkinson, he was a gardener, actually. Now, Kitty married a fella named Damon. He was a Frenchman. And someone said that he died at sea, but I reckon he just got off. He's sailing over to Canada. He had 2 children, and she was left with 2 kids. Kitty, I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll talk about her next week. We'll get the full hit next week. Is that all right with you, Anthony?
That's brilliant. Yeah.
Because it's well worth listening to, Redbird.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to read 2 Simon's comments here, both of you. Anthony, this may sound a bit controversial, but your thoughts on Another Place statues in Crosby. Personally, I think they were a complete waste of money. Go to Crosby Beach now. Half of them are gone.
Yeah.
And he says, saying Kitty. Kitty Wilkinson was a legend. This is what our schools need to be taught. Bravehearts like her who sacrificed their life to put others before themselves. How we could do with a Kitty in today's society. But you've got another girl along with Kitty. Unfortunately, Kitty died in 1860, and a girl came right on the scene, right the year she died, and she was another Kitty Wilkinson, and that was Agnes Jones. And Agnes Jones became the first paid nurse in the world. William Rathbone brought her to Liverpool, and I'll combine the two with Anthony next week. Is that all right with you, Anthony?
That's wonderful, Frank. Yeah.
So
Both.
I can't leave Agnes without Kitty, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And Johan. Mr. Brown, I'm sorry if this may be a very basic question, but you mentioned you'd love to go up to Scotland and paint there. How important is the environment for inspiration to an artist? Asks Johan.
To me, Johan, it's very important. Yeah. I mean, obviously, over many, many years, I've painted photos and stuff and commissions. But for me, like with Frank, really, we walk round places and you're immediately filled with a sense of awe. Scotland, I love. I love all of Scotland. My brother-in-law lives in Aberdeen. We love to go up there, but we love wherever we go up there, and
It's
it's
great,
that.
isn't it? You know, it's wonderful what you're saying there, because I went up there just to meet some friends. I forget the bloody place they lived in, just outside Glasgow. We had to get to the central station, you know, Glasgow, and it just looked like Lime Street. Same
Yeah.
people, very same people, same sense of humour, same everything. And anyway, when we went there, now I went to meet this lad named Kenny and his wife, because I met them over there, and not me, I was at my one then, and he brought us up to a place called Duck Bay. He said, "This is where we're going tonight." I said, "Oh." And the girls went to a market, so he brought me there to say, "This is where we'll be tonight. This is on a Saturday." And
Yeah.
I'm looking around, and there was no one in there. There was only a 7'10" fella, a big fella with a big green coat on. I said, "Where are you going?" "Jimmy." What you fucking like? Anyway, they allowed us in because Kenny's uncle owned this Duck Bay place, and it was the only complex on there at Loch Lomond. And I'm standing there looking around, you know. He said, "We were standing here and we were looking down to the stage." He said, "This is where we'll be." And I go, "Okay." And then I looked around, and there was one person at a table, just one, and one lad in a you know, like a waiter's uniform behind this coffee bar or whatever it was. And I'm seeing this fella, and he's just sitting down, and he's drinking coffee, like reading something. And I walks over, I said, "Kenny, look who's there." I said, "You coming up?" He said, "No, I'm not going up." I said, "Come on." He said, "No." I said, "I'm going." Walked over, and I shook his hand. I said, "This is incredible. What are you doing here?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Sit down. Do you want a coffee?" I said, I only drink tea." Even like that, it felt like a cup of tea, little, pot of tea. And I said, what are you doing here? Out of all the places to be on the planet, he's sitting there in front of me. And he said, I said, I'm a judge down at Cannes, these films, and I've got a week off. So I flew to Scotland and I'm playing golf for the week. He said, then go back to Cannes. I went, oh. So anyway, after half an hour, I give me tea and chatting to it. I said, I love your work. And he stood up and he's tall, beautiful tan, beautiful skin. And I shook his hand. And as I was walking away, because I always called him Mister, always, right through the conversation. And as I was walking up, he knew me because I said, my name's Frank. And he went, I said, see it? And he went, hey, Frank, call me Clint. Clint. All right, Clint. Say it again, I got up. Clint.
Wow.
And he was there, The most incredible thing ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Know what I mean? Loved it. So me and Mr. Eastwood, like that. Me and Prince Charles and King Charles, like that. You couldn't make it up, could you? You couldn't make it up. And the lovely Karen says, my favourite person, Kitty Wilkinson. Look forward to the show. Oh, yeah, we'll do that. We're doing that, Karen. Honestly. Kitty and Agnes Jones. Well worth it. Some of the greatest females in any century. Did you know, guys, says Simon, Hendricks served in the US Army's 101st Airborne Division as a paratrooper, enlisting in 1961.
He did.
I knew that he was in the Army.
Screaming Eagles. Yeah, a very, very bespoke regiment. And his long-term bass player was in the same regiment, Billy Cox.
Well, during the Second World War, the 101st Airborne, they got permission to land in China. It's never been known before. The Chinese said, yeah, okay. And they landed there to take on the Japanese.
Wow.
Second World War. That was the 101st Airborne.
There's a rumour I remember reading years ago, and it keeps popping up. And this may be true, it may not be true. That's a problem with history, isn't it? But that Jimi Hendrix jumped out of a plane deliberately to cause injury to his ankle. So the army could discharge him. So he immediately went on the road. I don't know if it's true, but it sounds like it should be true.
Yeah, it should be, shouldn't it? He wants to there be in wars and whatever. Because if it was in the 60s, he said, he could have easily ended up in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And most probably been killed, and we would never have listened to a lad named Jimi Hendrix. He played the guitar with his teeth.
Amongst other things, yeah.
Another thing.
It's as we talked last week, and as we've talked many times, it's that thing of against adversity that makes some incredible people like Kitty Wilkinson was not blessed with any silver spoon or money or whatever, no budget and no kind of what the big wind up for me these days is that there's no sponsorship, so I can't do this thing. Just do it. Just do it. She did it. So
Look at this cheeky fella here. Look.
yeah,
Casually dropping there. Cutting t-shirts of Prince Charles on those peasants. I'm a peasant. I'm the biggest peasant here. Biggest peasant. Do you know what, though? It's amazing to think that, you know, you meet people. I met Meryl Streep. I was down at town hall, and I said to her, like, you know, the people, I said, and so I decided to walk through this little, I love this building. It's got two big Lascar tigers heads on this two fantastic doors. So I decided to walk through, wanted to look at the plasterwork, you know, inside.
yeah.
And as I was walking through, this Meryl Streep walking up, I went, "Hello, Meryl." She went, "Hi." I thought, it's just know that you know them.
So what you do? Yeah.
I went, "What are you doing here?" She said, "I'm making a film." And she was making a film, strangely enough, here in Liverpool with Hugh Grant. I don't know what it was called, like, but she was making a film at the time here in Liverpool. It's fantastic.
Yeah. That's the problem with life, is that we put people on pedestals all the time.
Yeah.
Some obviously
But she
don't.
was a lovely person. She spoke to me. She could have just like ignored me and just walked up.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you know, and as Simon, Anthony, did you ever get a chance to work with Tom Murphy?
Not work with.
Don't say anything yet.
No, I won't.
Because
I know you know, my lips are sealed, but my first exhibition in '89 in a so-called proper gallery was in the Hanover Gallery. I was downstairs and Tom was upstairs, and we kind of known each other since then.
since then, many years. Many years of a great song.
Sculpture. There we go.
There we go.
Incredible hero.
Yes. And this fella is Noel Shavas, VC Bar. VC Bar. An incredible man. The only man in the First World War to receive not one but two Victoria Crosses. Two of them. Two of them. And the fantastic thing, it was at a place called, it was on the, you know, the Somme, obviously. And he received his first one. He was looking after the injured, the wounded. And he was also bringing back the dead in no man's land. And then he was operating on the ones that were badly wounded. And he went back out again because he heard crying. He heard crying. And he went back out and he brought these lads back. And he was awarded, he was mentioned in dispatches and was awarded the Victoria Cross. He was awarded that. And when he was awarded it, he just carried on. And his mate was another war hero. And he never gets mentioned about being a war hero. And he was mentioned in dispatches. Because when war broke out, the likes of Shavas, who was working at the Royal Southern Hospital, enlisted in a 2-mile queue. A 2-mile queue, 4 deep, when war was rumbling, simple as that. And he enlisted in the Liverpool Scottish along with his mate, who never gets mentioned about being a war hero, but we all know who he is because he became a silver screen legend in Hollywood, and his name was Basil Rathbone from the Rathbone family.
Yeah.
I've just mentioned William Rathbone and Agnes Jones, but he came from the same family, and he became a MC, which is a medal lower than the Victoria Cross. He was a war hero, Basil Rathbone,
Yeah.
the famous Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. It's the greatest.
So
Look.
he was awarded that. They used to play pranks on each other. You know, it's the monotony. It's the thing, everything going on around them. You can't describe what was going around them. I've always said this, Andy. I've always said this. No matter what I say about war, you can't imagine what was going through their minds going over the top.
No.
Going to certain depth. It's like today in Gaza, for example.
Yeah.
Families living in tents every fucking minute, seconds of the day, hugging each other, wondering when the next time they fucking see, whether they see sunset, sunrise.
Yeah.
Kissing the children every day, every night. Because they don't know when they're going to die.
No.
And we can't imagine what's going through their minds. It's just like these lads going over the top. Because those lads who went over the top nearly every day, how many of them came back? And they're knowing that it'll be their turn when they go over the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the likes of this lad, Victoria Cross holder, he was in a bunker, you know, that they had, you know, these little things inside the trenches where officers went in and out or whatever. And he was inside there, but he wasn't eating or anything else. He was looking after his lads. He was looking after them. These are wounded lads, and he was looking after them. He was operating on them in these bloody trenches. He was bringing them back from no man's land to work on them, to save their lives. Anyway, he was ordered because he was wounded. A shell came in, wounded him, and he was really badly wounded. And he was sent to the clearing station himself where they operated on him to get the shrapnel out after a few days. I forget the nurse's name. And the nurse, believe it or not, how small world is this, was his nurse in the Royal Southern Hospital. Nurse Needham, her name was. And she said, please don't go out again. He said, I've got to go back to my men. They need me. They need me. She said, you've got to recover. You've got to get your strength back. Please, Dr. Shavas, don't go. He said, no. He said, I'll be all right. And he went out looking after his men. And he was killed at a place called Gillemont. And he was awarded as VC, as second VC. And unfortunately, he was killed. That's what kind of a man he was. He went about saving lives. He went about saving lives.
Yeah.
And have a look at this. That's his family. There's the second Anglican Bishop, Francis Shavas. He started the ball rolling for the Anglican Cathedral that we have today. And Francis, if you see in the background, the four people standing, are the twins, and one of the twins with the girls is Noel and his twin Christopher. And the two girls in the background are another set of twins.
Oh.
And they were at the front. They were nurses at the front. They were in the trenches. They were in the clearing stations. They were bringing back the wounded. And the two boys who were in the front there, they became soldiers. And the youngest lad, to the left of the picture, sitting down, is Aidan Shavas. And he was killed.
Oh.
When I had my students over to Menin Gate, I was looking at all the names. Oh, you want to see the names? Incredible. Incredible. And I seen Shavas, Aidan, that young lad. To the right is another lady, Shavas girl. And her name was Dorothea. And Dorothy, she was married and had 3 children. She was married to a vicar. And she had 3 children. And she knitted gloves, socks, and even had food parcels sent over to the troops on the Somme. So she gave her as well. Obviously, she would have gone over as a nurse or something. But because she was married and had 3 children of her own, no chance of her going. So every single one of those Shavas family gave everything for the war effort. Everything. Every single one of them. Out of the 7 children, and there's Mrs. Shavas there, next to her husband at the table. So there's 7 of them. all contributed. And another lad, I forget his bloody name. I always forget his name as well. That's the lad sitting down
Yeah.
with
George-
young Aiden. You know,
George Tennessee.
yeah, he won an MC. He survived the war, and he was an MC holder. A very brave family.
Absolutely enormously brave family, and you can't help but think, knowing we know what was to come after the war.
And there
If
they are, the Oxford Blues.
if they
Incredible athletes. Do you know where they ran? Funny enough, they used to run. You know, Bebington
yeah,
used to run around there. You know, the little racetrack.
wow,
And look at them medals. There's his VC. There's his bar. Frank now. And he's one of ours. One of ours, Anthony.
wow.
Now you can talk about Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, a beautiful piece of art by our good friend Tom Murphy, which would not have seen the light of day, I don't think, if it wasn't for your goading.
Yeah. Yeah, because he didn't know anything about Chivas. And I was always mentioning him. I said something should be done for this man. I campaigned
Yeah,
for something for this man.
yeah,
And a cousin of Tom's rang me up. He said, "Hey, Frank." He said, "You're Frank, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm sorry that I asked for your phone number." He said, "I hope you don't." I said, "Who are you, you know?" And he said, "Have you ever heard of Tom Murphy?" I said, "Everybody's heard of Tom." "Yeah, of course I have." He said, "Would you meet him?" I said, "What for?" He said, "Would you just meet him?" I said, "Yeah." And I met him down by St. Nick's, sitting in a churchyard.
yeah,
And he said, "Can I show you this?" I said, "I know, yeah, it's your boy climbing the stairs with his little aeroplane." He said,
yeah,
I said, "That's beautiful." I said, "Too." I said, "What do you want to see me for, Tom?" He said, "I heard you mentioning my name, that, you know, about this fellow named Shabazz." I said, "Yeah. And you said there's only one man who can do a sculpture. It's Tom Murphy, because he does exactly how they looked, the faces. He did exactly the same. Yeah, every statue he's done, it's a mirror image of the person.
yeah,
And he's the only one who can do it, as far as I know." He said,
yeah,
"That's why, you know," he said, he said, "Can I join your campaign?" I said, "No, Tom." I said, "No need." I said, if something happens, I said, "I'd love you to, don't get me wrong. But if people will look at you and go, well, he's only doing that so we get I said, "You see what I mean?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "So leave it with me." And then these fellas came on board. And they came on board, and we used to have meetings. But I used to have to go down to them. I used to have to go all the way. I lived on the other side of the city. And I'm talking about out of the city centre, by the way, not where I live now, but on the other side.
yeah,
And I lived miles away. And I used to have to cross right down to the city to get to the periphery of Liverpool, if you know what I mean. Right on the edge of Liverpool, I had to travel. And obviously, working of a day, lecturing, it's very tiring. We used to have meetings, and they had these meetings upstairs in the pub. And so we went down, and and I said, "Are you getting Tom Murphy?" And yeah. So Tom came down, and he was talking to him, brilliant, He said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And then a bit later on, they organised a talk at the town hall in the council chambers, and they said, "We want you to give a talk because the Shabazz family will be there." So I said, "Okay." And he had the maquette is it, done,
Yeah.
a little thing, what he was doing, and it was that. And he brought that down. He said, "This is what I'm going to do." That was in front of me, and I'm giving the talk. The Shabazz family was there. The Ratcliffe family, another VC. And the Jones family, another VC. And the only naval at the time living VC was Lieutenant Commander Ian Fraser. And they were there. All these families. And it was beautiful. It was chock-a-block. Chock-a-block. And I gave the talk. The Shabazz family came over to me and shook my hand, and so did the Ratcliffe, and so did the David Jones. And the Ratcliffe family and the David Jones family, two VCs, prominent heroes, Liverpool heroes, said, "We didn't think that you'd talk about." I said, "No." I said, "No. Your great granddad was a war hero.
Yeah.
A war hero that's better than William Ratcliffe, war hero. What he did to earn his Victoria Cross. What David Jones did to earn his Victoria Cross should be mentioned. And Lieutenant Commander Ian Fraser. What they did. Incredible stories. Incredible." And he just went, "Oh, thank you." I said, "No, be proud. Not me, you, be proud."
Rightly. Yeah.
Anyway, I was at this meeting after all that, and one of them said, the chair said, "Can I have a word with you, Frank?" Because my one, as I said, I used to be tired coming home. And I had to go to this meeting. And she drove me all the. It was a hell of a journey, Anyway, I went to the meeting, and she used to come upstairs, to the big, massive room, and she used to sit right at the back, by where we came in the doors, And then I was called over. I said, "Yeah." I said, "Frank, do you mind if she doesn't come in?" I said, "She brings me down here." I said, I work every day, not like you, all retired. I work every day, and I'm absolutely knackered when I come home." I said, "I lecture 3 times a day, and I'm really tired by the time I drive home." I said, "And to get in a car and drive myself all the way down here." I said, "Are you having a laugh? And to drive all the way back because you call meetings, twice a week." So anyway, they said, "Well, we'd like you to be here." And I said, "Well, fuck you lot. I'm off. I'm going." So I got Tom the commission. And the saddest thing, now don't forget, no one had heard of him, only me. Nobody. Nobody in Liverpool had heard this man. And I said, I campaigned, get something done for this. Who is he? Told them. And they were made up, this group. They said, yeah, we'll come on board. Tom met them. Tom used to go to a couple of meetings. And I wasn't even invited to the unveiling of that statue there.
Shit.
How shameful was that?
Oh, big time shameful, Frank. Far worse. I'm sorry you had to go through that, man.
Well, that's the way it is, and that's the way some people are, unfortunately. It's the way some people are. But we just carry on, don't we?
We do what we do, and then obviously if it connects with people, that's the important thing. But so to interrupt a bit, so Shivas Park is named after the father.
Yes, not him. It's named after Francis Shabazz.
Should really be a family thing.
Yeah, but people mistakenly say it's because of Noel Shabazz, the double VC winner.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's after the stars who started the Anglican Cathedral. But, you know, he was the father of such an extraordinary family.
Yes.
Extraordinary. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
So, you know, but you're right, it should be Family Shabazz Park.
Yeah, or even a building, you know, the Shivas building with.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And he's buried in a place called Branderhoek. I wonder if Jason's got it here. Oh, yeah, there it is. He's brilliant, Jason, isn't he?
Jason is the best.
And there he is, look, 2 VCs on his headstone. And it's only a very little set. Do you know what upset me as well? Brought all my students over there. And there was a fella from Kent. All right, they ain't giving tours and, you know, around it. You know, to the cemeteries. And I said to him, listen, mate, I said, I want to go to Branderhoek. He said, where's that? I said, it's where an old Shabazz is buried. Who's he? And I'm going to be blunt here. This is what I said to him. I said, you don't know who Noel Shabazz is. Now, don't forget, Noel Shabazz is the only double VC winner of the First World War. You know, you had a couple who, 2 other lads who were double VCs, but they won them in different wars. See what I mean?
Yeah.
He was the only one who won it in the same war. 2. And I said, what kind of a fucking guide are you? And he went, what do you mean? I said, what kind of a guide are you? Where'd you fucking bring these people? He said, I could take you to Manchester, you know. I I said, I'm not fucking interested in Manchester fucking cemetery. I want to go to Branderhoek and Noel Shavas's cemetery. That's where I want to go. He said, I don't know where it is. I said, I tell you what, fella, you better fucking get a map and there, find it for us for tomorrow. I said, we're fucking paying you for what? He didn't like me. So anyway, the next day, we did it. We did it. You know, we got to Branda, a very small cemetery. And it's on the back, believe it or not, it's on the back of gardens, you know, these houses. Couldn't believe it. Very small. And anyway, we found it. But there was a teacher on with us on the coach. And he had bagpipes.
Oh, yeah.
And he played it. I gave her a poem. I read out a poem. And I had to read The Soldier.
Yeah.
You know, I just recited it and know it off by heart. I think only this of me that there's some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. So I read that out. And as soon as I finished, okay, now this fella started playing the bagpipes. It was so emotional. Even the people who lived in the houses were standing in the, you know, the garden. I was reading that, but just saying that. And then the bagpipes stopped, and it started, and they were just looking, they were mesmerized. It was fantastic, very emotional. That day, at Branderhoek. And that fucking fella didn't even know where it was. He said, Jay, thanks for that, mate. I'll be talking about him. I said, so you should know about these people if you're a guide. Still had to go at him, like. And that was it. And there he is, there. There he is, Noel Shavas. Fantastic, that, isn't it?
Well,
and what are
your story of being there in the pipes and the poem is fantastic. What a wonderful spiritual thing to do. And
it
yeah,
was so sad, you know, Anthony. Especially the pipes.
yeah,
They were all crying. They were crying, all the people.
yeah,
And even like the, you know, I looked over and I seen these like couple of people in the gardens. These Belgian, because it's in Belgium, Branderhoek, Belgium, and they had their heads lowered. They were emotional, and then we just got off. Just got off. I did a video with my one, and I don't know where it's gone. And I gave it to Jason, and he put music to it. Fantastic. And I was going around the cemeteries, and I was in these trenches, and I was talking. And then I went over to the headstones, and I was looking. 2 headstones. One was 14 years of age, and the other one was 15 years of age. And I gave it to Jason. Wow. Jason sent me a message. I think we have that video.
oh, that's got to go up soon.
Quality is in great, but can play it next week.
That's brilliant. Fantastic.
How's that? Yes.
Brilliant. Well done, Jason.
Fucking hell. I'll just see what these have said and then we'll end until next week. And there's your answer about Tom Murphy and Anthony.
Yeah.
Hey Frank, do you hear about Kwanzaa? Yeah, he went for 34 million. He came down to see me to say, listen, Frank, I'm off, you know. I said, okay, Gerald, lad. I said, good luck. Simon. His father inscribed in his headstone, greater love hath no man than this, that had man lay down his life for his friends. In 2017, Shabazz was featured on a special £5 coin for the 100th anniversary. I wrote a play, Simon, and he had it performed at St George's Hall. It was very successful. It was called Echoes of the First World War. You know, like World War One, WW1, not all the echoes of, but WW1. Not a big long title, but echoes of the First World War. And it was about poets and it was about lads in the trenches. Very successful. And that was for the 100th anniversary. I was the only one ever to do it throughout the country. And I was interviewed on the telly and Frank, you put a good thing out in the world. It's a shame the masses don't recognise your contribution to. But the Lord is always watching. I'm sure you'll be credited multifold in his kingdom. I swear though. I swear. You might say, listen, Frank, you know, you can't swear up here. And Simon said, I was privileged to go to the Somme Men and Gate heap. Yeah. Vinny had seen so many Allied and German war graves, so much waste of what was meant to be the Great War, but sadly, we have never learned from it. You never learn from a war.
No.
No one learns.
No one
But
learns.
it's not you and I that doesn't learn. It's these prats in power. When you talked about Men and Gate there, when you talked about Men and Gate, Rudyard Kipling wrote a letter for his son to go into the army because he was getting rejected because of myopic sight disease. And he said, Dad, please, you know, let me go. Get in. And the army said, okay, if you sign that piece of paper, you can go in. So he signed a piece of paper. It's like those 14 and 15-year-old kids. Their dads had to sign a paper for them to go into war. And Rudyard Kipling, his estate today pays for the last post that's played every single night, 24/7, 365 to 66 days a year. His estate pays for it. The last post every night. And he wrote this, his son was killed because when they went over the top, there was all the smoke, bam, then the whistle went to go back to the trenches, back to the lines. And by the time all the smoke and the bewilderment of shells and bullets and whatever, he gets up, Harry, and he's going towards his lines, as he thinks, and he goes right into the German lines, and he was killed. He was killed. And he wrote this poem. It's one of the most, in my opinion, hard-hitting poems ever written. And it's 2 lines. 2 lines, that's all. But what a belter it is. It belts you right in the mouth. If any question why we died, tell them because our fathers lied. That's the poem. Rudyard Kipling done that for his son and every other young lad that papers were signed for by their dads for them to go to the front, who died. Johan, Jason, producer extraordinaire, strikes again. Yes.
It does.
Yes. And our red bird. Johan, there's too many brainwashed sheeple. They believe everything what the British BS and the other lying mainstream medias. Absolute 110%. The British BS Corporation.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
BBC, that's horrible. The Battle of the Somme, for the first time, all frontline troops were issued with steel helmets. And people thought that, steel helmets would stop bullets. It wasn't. It was only for the debris coming down after being, shelled and all the debris. Couldn't stop bullets. Redbird. God don't mind you swearing, that's why he gave us a mind, besides your Tourette's are helping to make get rich. It's the Redbird. But you've got to swear sometimes. He was at George Bernard Shaw. And he was told, he wrote a letter to like an official letter. And someone got back to him and went, whoever it was, you didn't put a full stop. He said, oh, fuck off on your, that's the letter. Fuck off on your full stops. Just a little note like that. Johan, I hope you forgive it. But that's true now. Fuck off on your full stop. Could you imagine GBS? The letter full stop. God might have a bit too much on his hands with what's going on. And yes, so worry about your swearing. I think so.
I'm sure he's swearing himself.
Yes.
Or herself.
Yes. Yes. Simon. Frank and Anthony, thank you for tonight. Another fantastic night. Always a privilege to be in your company. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, and absolutely agree. It's always a privilege to talk amongst friends.
And lovely Toscana. Redbird's well said. That's why I refuse to pay for a TV license. Haven't done for years.
Good.
And on that wonderful note of defiance from our beautiful lady Toscana, Has anybody seen the Anfield Rory? I hope he's all right. Because he works on the building and I haven't heard from him. I hope he's okay. You know, he could have had an accident or so. Just hope he's all right. So if anyone sees him or message, whatever, you know, just we were asking about him. Anthony, we've come to the end of an evening, which at the beginning, check the nipper.
Thank you.
And do you know what? Do you know what? Like when he died, that doctor, there was no more mates. Did you know that?
No.
Because they carry on. They carry on. When them 4 girls were murdered, no more mates.
Yeah. That's why the kind of yin and yang of conversations said, oh, he must have been imprisoned, or he's gone abroad. There's a theory that someone had gone abroad, but what you've said is far more horrifying because we live almost in the middle of it.
Yes.
We walk the same streets.
Yeah, we do. We do, Anthony. And do you know what the best is? To have friends.
Yes.
Decent people. Like Karen Kariaka yesterday.
Yeah.
She came down to see me.
Yeah.
Specifically. And it was a wonderful chat. We just talked, Anthony, for 4 solid hours.
Fantastic.
And, you know, it's one of those things, Anthony, that we can, you know, not rely, but knowing that they're there for us.
Yes.
You know that.
Yeah.
It's like these people on here. I hate saying these people. You know, our friends on here. The comments they come out with.
Yeah.
Some simple ones, some hard-hitting ones.
Yeah.
And it's nice just to interact with them.
Yeah. It just inspires more thought, more,
Yeah.
and that's a mutual thing about it.
Yeah.
So with what you've designed and what you unleash on us sets all our minds working, and then obviously the guys and ladies.
Do you know, next week, you know, whether it'll be, it will, I'm sure it will, because we're talking about 2 greats. We're talking about Kitty Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Kitty.
Yeah.
You know, an Irish girl.
Yeah. Agnes.
And Agnes Jones. And Agnes. You know, what they did. What they did.
Yeah.
And we'll have a look at the map again.
Yeah. No, it's that connection, Frank. That's what I mean. I'm sure all the guys are the same, but it's the connection to say, yeah, that street, that building, that's where this event or this.
Yes, that's what I'm going to do next week. That's what we'll be doing, looking at certain areas.
Yeah.
And Johan, thank you, Frank and Anthony, for another great stream. Take care, legends. Have a good night all. Isn't that lovely? He's a lovely lad, him.
Yeah. brilliant. Simon.
Simon, he's great, this fella. We spend our lives on the run. We get up by the clock, eat and sleep by the clock, get up again, go to work, then we retire. And what do they give us? A clock. Dave Allen. He turns in the year, you think, oh, it's a clock.
Yeah.
Fucking garage clock.
Yeah.
God, that's a cracker, that. Thanks, Simon, for that. Beautiful. Dave
Yeah.
Allen.
Yep.
Toscana. Grazie mille, Franco and Anthony, and everyone else on here for an entertaining and knowledgeable evening. That's lovely.
Beautiful.
So tomorrow night, people, I'll be doing the more hard hitting, unfortunately. I'll be doing the current affairs. What's going on?
Yeah.
And on Saturday morning, a little bit of film and TV to get away from all the horrors that's going on.
Yeah.
So Anthony, thank you for tonight.
Forever thank you, Frank. I am really happy to be passenger.
Yeah. Wait till you unveil the Starry Night.
Starry Night. Well, that'll be finished in the morning, and then that'll be gone off the easel, and then we'll see what replaces it.
Yeah. That'll be fantastic. Van Gogh. It's Van Gogh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Van Gogh, not Gogh.
No, that's the Americanism. Go.
I know. It's like, do you know what it's like? Like do the math. Fuck off, it's maths.
Yeah.
It's not just one sum. It's not just one fucking digit. Oh, pisses me off, these Americans.
Do you know that Vincent regarded that picture as a failure?
Did he?
Yeah. He kept it with him almost till his death, which wasn't far off. But he wrote to a friend of his, and he said, I've allowed my imagination to get in, because other people were doing all sorts, imagining these scenes and stuff. Vincent just wanted to paint what was there. There's a vase, I'll paint that vase.
I think that, do you know what? It's like what I said before. That's exactly what I said, didn't I? I was watching the telly, I was seeing what was going on. And I'm going to mention something tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which, it's sick of me. I had to turn it off. And that's why I wrote that poem. It's like I had to write it.
Yeah.
I just had to write it. That little mad poem. The moon.
It's fantastic that you did. And
it's like what you just said about Van Gogh, Vincent van Gogh. He's seen, and he had to paint it because he's looking at it.
Yeah.
It's life.
Yes. Yeah.
I look at people and, I try to take them at face value. We all do. Face value.
Yes.
Some people are wonderful. Some people are phonies. We all know the phonies. And but we still trust them. But we won't allow her to do it again. If you
No.
know.
Yeah, and we tighten up on that the older we get, really.
Yeah,
Our radar was a facility to spot bullshitters becomes more acute because you've been there, you've heard the same things, you know.
okay now. I've been through the mill, honestly,
Yeah,
through the mill,
yeah,
loads of times. It's just like that, what I mentioned before,
yeah, yeah.
about not being invited down for the unveiling.
Just
And even the gates,
the
you know,
rate.
the sailors' own gates, they found them. Me and a lad from over the water, they fell get a second. And we found them. And we fought and fought and fought to get them back. And we finally got, there were all these fucking people who didn't know started jumping on the bandwagon when they knew that they were coming back. And I always remember Frank Jordan, it was, he was councillor. And we were at a meeting. And he said, well, you know, this is before we knew we were getting them back. Phil Griffiths, his name was, the lad. Lovely fella. I haven't seen him since then. Really, I haven't seen him. And we fought. And we were at this meeting. And Frankie, you know, like Frankie, lovely man. And he said, we can make replicas. I said, fuck off with your replicas. I said, we want the real thing. I said, those gates, lads went out of those gates and never came back in wars, from the Crimean War right through to the two World Wars and the Korean War. I said, they never came back. They were killed. Whether it was an airman, a sailor, a soldier, anyone who stayed in their sailor's home and walked through those gates can't fucking have replicas. And that was it. Before, and me and Phil got them. There was a replica. Fuck off. Having a replica. Do you know what it's like if someone nicked the European Cup out of the cabinet, you know, in Anfield? You know, the original.
Yeah.
What we won, we got to keep. I'm only giving this analogy, right?
Yeah.
And someone says, oh, but it's all right, yeah, we'll just get a replica one. Buy us out the shop down the road that you can buy.
It's not the
Strawberry Fields gates.
There's something almost spiritual in the original thing.
Of course, Anthony. It's like, imagine me and you in the Duomo of Florence, and we're looking at Da Vinci's painting, Da Vinci's painting, and we're looking at it, and we're in awe of Leonardo's. We're in awe looking at it. And just imagine if a priest came up and said, that's a replica. You're not going to look at it the same, are you?
No.
Just go.
Everything, yeah. Can't do it. No.
Simple as that. And on that note,
Says the original Frank.
as Johan says, Saturday has to be a Clint recommendation. Yeah, I'll do that. A couple of them. I'll do that, Johan.
I heard a great recommendation for a Clint film from, Davy the Pap, photographer
Yeah,
Davy.
Baby Pop, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Davy had said to me about it must be a fairly recent film because Clint is kind of the age he is, and he's basically his character, cantankerous gardener, who doesn't talk to his family, doesn't get on with anyone, and then he's approached to deliver a package and given an envelope full of money. And it's a really, really interesting. I think it's called The Ride.
The
But
Ride.
I'll
Look that
find
up.
out. I'll find out tomorrow, and
I'll look
and
it up.
I'll talk to you about it or send you a message.
No, I'll definitely, for this, for Saturday morning.
Yes.
And Simon says to Johan, mine will be Telly Savalas. Kojak is the kind of guy who couldn't arrest a hooker. He'd send it all. There you go. There you go. And Simon, night guys, make sure you're keeping cool and drink plenty of fluids. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful recommendation. Anthony, thank you so much. And I'll see you next week, next Monday.
Yeah.
I'll talking about those two beautiful ladies and having a look at the map and whatever, we ever talk about because we're always talking about something different. I have to thank that wonderful producer of ours. And we have to, Jason, Jason, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Jason was brilliant, and it's lovely that chat are picking up on how good he is.
There's the film, I've seen that.
The Mule.
The Mule.
That's it.
I've seen it. And don't forget to join me tomorrow night, people. Please, and just join me. It'll be hard hitting, unfortunately. And again on Saturday morning, if you're all not sunburnt. And on that wonderful note, my good friends Anthony, you wonderful people, you're the most important people. You're the most important.
Yeah.
Love that. Thank you, Jason, for putting that up. And on that note, thank you. Thank you all. Ci vediamo, as the Italians say.
Keep safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.